Well, we're joined now by Dr. Kath Hill, who's a lead researcher on the project and was at the arena that night with her son, and Abby Quinn, who's also a survivor of the attack. Abby was just 12 at the time. Dr. Hill, first of all, tell us about the survey. What are you hoping to achieve with it?
Yeah, thank you. We are hoping that as many young people who were either 17 or under at the time of the attacks will share their experiences of the support that they received, because we know that that support was inconsistent and, as you've mentioned, patchy at times. So we know that some young people had incredible support, amazing examples of fantastic teachers, doctors, mental health workers that really were able to help brilliantly. But we also know of other stories of young people who really struggled to find support and actually felt lost and felt quite alone. So we want as many young people who were directly affected by the attacks to fill in the survey. And it's not a long survey, and crucially, it doesn't ask you to relive your story of the night, but it does ask you to talk about the support you received, what was good and not so good, with the aim to improve services for the future, should heaven forbid young people get targeted in a terrorist attack in the UK again.
Abby, if we could turn to you, thank you so much for joining us tonight. You were just 12 at the time of the attacks, weren't you? And like Kath said, I'm not going to ask you to relive your experience from that night, but I wonder if you could give us a sense of how it affected you and the kind of support that you did get afterwards.
Yeah, so I was just 12 at the time, and for a young person, that's something you should never have to experience. It did massively psychologically injure me. And then because of that, the support I gained in the end was from CAM services, which was very helpful, but it was a nightmare to gain that support, and myself and my mum had to reach out for that support instead of it being offered to us and instead of options being given to us.
Kath, you mentioned not reliving the whole experience. I mean, there'll be some people who say just don't go there. It's very, very sensitive, isn't it? What are your concerns there, and how are you going to deal with that?
Yeah, I understand that. And that's why it's been so important for us to do this in partnership with 9 very brave young survivors who have helped us to put this questionnaire together. I mean, whilst I hear that, and I'm the mum of a young survivor, I actually think if we don't learn from the experiences of these young people, we're doing them an injustice. Many of the young people really want to share their story and to make things better for the future. It's totally optional. So we understand if people don't want to fill it in, that's absolutely fine. But anybody that feels like they want to make a difference and to share their story and be the difference for the future, we just urge them to fill in the survey. It doesn't take long. It isn't invasive, but it could make a huge difference for the future.
I think one of the characterisations of this particular attack was there were so many children there, weren't there? Because this was something that was attended by young people, maybe with their parents, maybe with their friends. And Abby, I wonder for you, did this affect your friends too, and this ripple effect? Because it's not even necessarily, I suppose, the people who were only there that night, is it?
No, definitely not. It affects everyone around. As you say, it is a ripple effect. And I think that's what people don't realise, which is why we are saying that for this survey, even if you wasn't there or anything like that, do just get involved and have your say, because your feelings can be validated as well.
Kath, is your hunch that the infamous phrase postcode lottery is going to come up here? It depends where you are, who your GP is, or what the sort of support you got.
Absolutely. I'm fairly certain, even just within the 9 young survivors who we originally did this survey with, that was clear. You know, some young people who went to private school had services the very next day. Other young people who didn't live in Manchester, or, you know, just even if they did, really struggled. And that will depend on how the services were in your area. It also depended whether you had family and friends who were able to advocate for you. And that wasn't easy, because for many, the parents were also survivors. So that was really, really difficult. So we don't want young people having to go out and find that support. We want people to go to them. We want to make a difference so that if this happens again, then young people know exactly where to go and that those services are put in immediately.
Is ongoing support very important too? Because I suppose this is something that other events might trigger this trauma again, mightn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we were asking of the support that they've got over the last 5 years, because we know it's not something that you just get over in a year's time and you move on. Some young people do, and that's wonderful and that's brilliant, but not everybody does. And I think that you've made a really good point there, that yes, anything, kind of mass shootings perhaps in the US or other traumatic events in the UK are hugely triggering. And we want to try and prevent young people having that kind of re-traumatization. We think it's really important that we get in with good trauma-informed responses to things like this at the right stage as well, not leave it till it's too late, because we know the longer we leave it, we can end up with adults who are then in the adult mental health system, which is hugely costly to the economy.
OK, Kath Hill and Abby Quinn, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you both so much for joining us tonight.